Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Science Channel. Tonight, we are wandering into the strange and astonishing world of cacti. At first glance, they can seem simple. Spiny shapes in dry landscapes, stillness under a blazing sky. But the closer you look, the more surprising they become. These are plants that can wait through years without rain. They can bloom with sudden extravagance. They can climb, tower, creep, cling, and survive in places that seem almost impossible for life. Some stand like monuments in the desert. Some hide in stone and dust. Some open their flowers for a single night, then slip back into silence by morning. And some have traveled so deeply into human history that they fed communities, colored empires, and shaped whole ecosystems in ways most people never notice. If you enjoy these gentle journeys, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. But for now, all you need to do is relax. Let your body soften. Let your eyes grow heavy. And let your mind slowly unwind as we drift into this remarkable world of thorns, flowers, endurance, and surprise. Let's begin. Some cacti can live longer than many human lifetimes. A giant saguaro can begin life as a seed no larger than a grain of pepper, then remain in the landscape for well over a century. In rare cases, it may stand for close to 200 years. That means one plant can outlast wars, railways, whole cities spreading outward, and generations of families coming and going beneath it. Even many smaller kinds move through time at a pace that feels almost geological. A person may buy one on a windowsill and never see its full story unfold. That long life changes the way you look at them. They are not decorations with thorns. They are slow-living archives. Every scar, every season of growth, every drought survived is written into the body of the plant. To stand beside an old cactus is to stand beside something that has lived longer than almost anyone you will ever meet. Cacti store water so well, they can outlast years of drought. Inside the stem, the tissues are built like reservoirs. After rain, a plant can take in a huge pulse of water and hold it deep within swollen flesh for months, sometimes far longer than most people would imagine possible. The outer skin helps keep that supply from escaping, and the internal structure moves moisture where it is needed with extraordinary restraint. In the driest stretches, survival becomes a lesson in patience. Growth slows. Energy use changes. The whole plant begins living on what it saved long ago. That is what makes the spectacle so surprising. A bare and hostile landscape can look almost empty, yet these green bodies are carrying hidden stores from a storm that may have fallen seasons earlier. They are not simply enduring thirst. They are living off memory. In a place where rain can vanish almost as soon as it arrives, that talent can mean the difference between collapse and astonishing endurance. The jumping color gives the uncanny impression of leaping at passers-by. Its reputation sounds almost supernatural, as though the plant actively springs through the air to attack whatever comes near. The truth is stranger, and, in its own way, just as memorable. The stems are made of detachable segments that separate very easily when brushed. A sleeve, a shoelace, a paw, or a bit of fur can catch one without much force at all. Because the contact is so sudden, people feel as though the cactus jumped. In reality, the plant is built to let pieces break away at the slightest opportunity. That design turns an accidental touch into transport. It is an illusion born from superb engineering. The experience is vivid enough that the nickname stays with you, and perhaps that is part of its success too. A plant that seems to move acquires a legend. Yet behind the legend is a practical strategy. The segment does not leap. It simply waits for the world to do the carrying. Some cacti bloom with flowers larger than dinner plates. When those blossoms open, the contrast can feel almost unreal. A stern, spiny body that seems built only for endurance suddenly produces something lush, bright, and extravagant enough to stop a passerby in their tracks. Some species unfurl blooms so broad that they look more like porcelain bowls or festival lanterns than anything expected from a desert plant. The size is not vanity. It is strategy. A large flower is easier for pollinators to see, easier to enter, and harder to ignore in a sparse landscape where opportunities may be brief. Some open after dark and release perfume into the air, turning a silent night into a signal. Others greet sunrise with colors that seem impossibly rich against stone and dust. This is one reason cacti are so captivating. They are not only survivors, they are dramatists. They wait, they conserve, and then at exactly the right moment, they spend their energy on a display that feels almost too magnificent for the environment around it. One cactus can grow so tall, it towers above a house. The cardon of northwestern Mexico is the great giant of the cactus world, and an old specimen can rise far above rooftops. Seen from a distance, one can look less like a plant than a piece of architecture, with massive vertical columns lifting upward and branching into an immense green crown. Its scale changes the emotional effect of a landscape. A field of low shrubs feels one way. A place watched over by towering cactus trunks feels entirely different, almost ceremonial. What is most striking is that this height is built from tissue that began soft and watery, not from wood in the way most people imagine large plants becoming sturdy. Yet these giants endure fierce sun, dry air, and long scarcity while holding themselves upright for decades. To stand near one is to feel a shift in proportion. The desert no longer seems empty or small. It begins to feel monumental, and these towering forms become its pillars. Some cacti create entire miniature worlds for birds and insects. A large cactus is not just one organism standing alone. It can become housing, food source, lookout post, nursery, and shelter all at once. In the Sonoran Desert, for example, a mature saguaro may host nesting birds, visiting pollinators, hunting perches, and insects moving through its flowers and fruits across the seasons. Its shade cools the ground nearby. Fallen parts feed decomposers. Crevices and surfaces offer footholds in a place where good shelter can be scarce. That means a single plant helps organize life around itself. It becomes part of the local architecture of survival. When people picture a desert, they sometimes imagine emptiness. Yet around one well-established cactus, there can be an entire community of tiny dramas unfolding every day. Wings arrive and depart. Small bodies hide, climb, feed, and wait. The plant stands at the center of all this activity, not as a passive backdrop, but as one of the structures that makes the surrounding web of life possible. The tallest cactus on Earth can rise like a green cathedral. In parts of Baja California and Sonora, towering cardons can lift themselves so high that the landscape starts to feel built rather than grown. Some reach heights that rival a many-roomed building, and from a distance their trunks and branching arms can look like columns holding up the sky. What makes that spectacle even stranger is the setting. These giants do not rise from rich woodland or deep meadow. They stand in harsh country where water is unreliable and heat can press down with brutal force. Yet there they are, enormous and upright, turning scarcity into scale. Walk among a stand of old ones and the feeling changes completely. You are no longer looking at scattered plants. You are moving through a living architecture of vertical green pillars, each one assembled slowly from sunlight, drought, and time. It is one of the few moments in botany where a plant can make a person feel genuinely small. Some cacti grew in rainforests, clinging high in the trees. The image of a cactus rooted in sand is so strong that it almost sounds impossible. Yet some species live far above the forest floor, where their roots grip bark, moss, and pockets of damp debris. In these places, the air is humid, rain can be frequent, and the struggle is not against endless dryness alone. It is also a struggle for light, footing, and space. Epiphytic cacti solved that problem by taking to the branches. They drape, trail, or arch from tree limbs, catching filtered sun and drinking from mist, showers, and whatever moisture gathers around them. Their stems are often flatter or more pendulous than the desert forms people know best, which makes the family suddenly seem much more inventive. A cactus does not need open sand to be itself. It can hang in the canopy like a botanical surprise, proving that this group is not bound to one habitat or one visual stereotype. Some cactus flowers open for just one brief night. There is something almost theatrical about a plant spending weeks or months preparing a bloom, only to reveal it after dusk and let it fade by the next day. In species such as the night-blooming cereus, that is exactly the drama. Buds swell slowly and give little hint of the final spectacle. Then evening comes, petals loosen, fragrance rises, and the flower opens into a luminous display that seems to belong more to moonlight than to the desert floor. By morning, the performance is already ending. That brevity gives the event a special intensity. It feels less like a steady seasonal change and more like an appointment with time itself. You either arrive for it or you miss it. For people who grow these plants, a single bloom can become a household event, with friends gathered late, waiting for the moment. Few plants create that kind of anticipation. The flower is not only beautiful, it is fleeting in a way that makes beauty feel urgent. Cactus roots can spread astonishingly wide after a single storm. Many species keep their roots close to the surface, which sounds risky until you picture what desert rain is really like. A storm may come hard, fast, and brief. The water wets only the upper soil before sun and wind begin stealing it back. Deep roots would miss much of that gift. Wide, shallow roots can seize it almost at once. In some cases, the absorbing network extends far beyond the body of the plant, ready to intercept water over a broad area before the chance disappears. That means a shower passing through for a few minutes can become a life event. The plant is prepared for that exact moment. It does not wait for water to sink slowly downward. It races silently outward beneath the surface and gathers what it can while the pulse lasts. Survival here is not only about storing water well. It is also about arriving first when the sky finally opens. Many cacti breathe at night to save precious water. Most plants open their stomata during daylight, taking in carbon dioxide while the sun is up. In a hot, dry environment, that approach can be expensive. Open pores mean water escapes, and under desert heat it can vanish quickly. Many cacti use a different rhythm called CAM, photosynthesis. They open those pores after sunset when the air is cooler and evaporation is lower. Carbon dioxide is taken in at night, held in a temporary chemical form, and then used during the day while the pores remain mostly closed. It is a remarkable reversal of the schedule many people assume all plants follow. The cactus is still using sunlight, still making sugars, still carrying on the business of life, but with the windows largely shut during the hottest hours. That hidden timing is part of what makes them so impressive. They are not merely tough. They run on a schedule specially tuned to survive, where thirst never stops pressing. Some cacti hide underground for most of the year. Ariocarpus and several other small species live so close to the soil that from a distance they can vanish completely. Only the upper surface may show, and even that often blends with gravel, dust, or weathered stone. Much of the body remains tucked below ground where temperatures are steadier and moisture lasts longer than it does at the surface. This creates a startling contrast with the giant columnar forms people usually imagine. Here the strategy is not to rise above the landscape. It is to almost disappear into it. To find one in habitat can feel like discovering a secret rather than encountering a plant. That hidden life is part of their fascination. They are not passive little objects. They are experts in restraint, exposure, and camouflage. In difficult places, standing out is not always the best path. Sometimes survival comes from becoming so unobtrusive that the desert itself seems to swallow you almost whole. Cacti can shrink in drought, then swell again after rain. Their bodies are not rigid in the way a tree trunk is rigid. Many are designed to change volume as conditions change, which lets them store abundance when water arrives and conserve themselves when it does not. During a long dry spell, the stem can contract noticeably as those reserves are used. The surface may look more drawn in, the ribs more pronounced, the whole plant slightly reduced, as if it is tightening its belt. Then a storm comes. Moisture rushes into the roots. The tissues refill. The body expands again with remarkable speed. It is one of the clearest signs that these plants are not lifeless monuments. They are responsive, dynamic, and physically changing with the fortunes of the weather. In a sense, you can watch the desert written directly onto their shape. Plenty and scarcity leave visible marks. That flexibility is part of their genius. They survive not by resisting change, but by being built to absorb it. The prickly pear is one of the world's most widespread cacti. Its success begins with a body plan that is almost absurdly practical. Flax pads break off, root easily, and keep growing. Fruits are carried by animals and people. Some species tolerate heat, poor soil, and neglect so well that once established, they can spread with remarkable confidence. That combination helped prickly pears move across continents and become familiar far beyond their original home. In some places, they are valued as food crops. In others, they became invasive, forming dense stands that changed grazing land and challenged farmers for generations. Few cactus groups show so clearly how one lineage can become both beloved and troublesome, depending on where it lands. They are useful, edible, resilient, and often beautiful in flower. Yet they can also be astonishing colonizers. That is part of the reason they matter so much in the story of cacti. They prove this family is not limited to rare curiosities. It can also produce global survivors. Cacti evolved in the Americas, then conquered much of the world. For millions of years, the family developed in the New World, diversifying into strange forms across deserts, forests, mountains, and dry scrub. Before humans moved them around, there were no native cacti in Africa, Europe, Asia, or Australia. That makes their later journey even more dramatic. Once people began carrying pads, seeds, and ornamental plants across oceans, the family found opportunities almost everywhere conditions allowed. Some settled into gardens and stayed there. Others escaped cultivation and spread into open country with startling ease. Today, someone can encounter cactus landscapes far from the Americas and assume they have always belonged there, when in fact, they are living evidence of a much newer botanical migration. It is a reminder that plant history does not stop with evolution alone. trade, travel, empire, agriculture, and fashion can redraw the map of life. A cactus seen on another continent can be both deeply ancient in origin and surprisingly recent in arrival. Not every cactus grows in blazing desert heat. Some live in mountain grasslands where nights turn bitter. Others grow in tropical forests where the air is damp and the light filters through branches overhead. The Christmas cactus, for example, comes from Brazilian forests and often lives perched on trees or rocks rather than rooted in scorching sand. There are species along coasts touched by cool fog, and others high in the Andes where sunlight is fierce, but temperatures can fall sharply after dark. This surprises many people because the popular image is so narrow. We picture one kind of landscape and one kind of silhouette. In truth, the cactus family is far stranger and more versatile than that stereotype suggests. It includes climbers, dangling epiphytes, squat little globes, and towering columns. Once you realize that, the whole group becomes more interesting. These are not plants of one scene or one climate. They are masters of adaptation that found ways to thrive in remarkably different worlds. Their skin can photosynthesize even when leaves are gone. Most plants spread that task across thin, leafy surfaces, but cacti shifted the work into the stem itself. The green outer tissues capture sunlight and turn it into sugars, while the usual leafy machinery has been greatly reduced or lost. That means the body you see is doing double duty. It stores water and makes food at the same time. This is one reason their form is so unusual. A thick column or rounded globe may seem like an odd choice compared with branches full of leaves, yet for dry environments, it is a brilliant compromise. Less exposed surface means less water lost. At the same time, the stem remains active and productive. Once you understand that, the appearance of a cactus becomes more legible. The smooth green wall is not passive wrapping. It is the working engine of the plant. What looks simplified is actually highly specialized, and the familiar idea of what a plant should look like starts to feel far less fixed. A cactus spine can cool the plant as well as defend it. On some species, the covering is so dense that the stem beneath seems half-veiled, and that veil changes the plant's temperature in very real ways. Spines can scatter intense sunlight before it reaches the surface. They can cast moving flecks of shade across the skin as the sun shifts. In windy air, they may also alter the thin layer of heat hugging the stem, which helps the plant avoid dangerous overheating. The effect can be so important that two nearby individuals with different spine coverings may experience the same sun very differently. This turns a threatening feature into something unexpectedly elegant. The needles are not only warnings. They are climate control structures built from the plant's own body. In the harshest hours, that can matter enormously, because desert heat does not merely dry tissues out. It can push them toward lethal temperature. What looks fierce from the outside may also be the reason the living tissues beneath stay within safe limits. The famous saguaro grows so slowly, it can seem almost motionless. For years, a young one may stay so small that it hides beneath shrubs and passes almost unnoticed. In its earliest stages, growth can be measured in inches across many seasons. A seedling may spend a decade reaching only a modest height, which means a plant people admire on a postcard has already lived through a very long apprenticeship before it ever looks iconic. That slow pace is part of the wonder. The huge desert monarch begins as something fragile, exposed to heat, cold, thirsty soil, hungry animals, and pure chance. Most never make it far. Those that do are not racing upward. They are advancing by patience alone. Decade after decade, tissue is laid down, ribs lengthen, and eventually the first true grandeur appears. When you see an enormous one holding up its arms against the sky, you are looking at time made visible. It is not simply big. It is old effort, written very slowly in green. Cactus spines are modified leaves with extraordinary survival benefits. That means the sharp structures we notice first are not just weapons. They are the transformed remains of what, in most other plants, would have become flat green blades. By changing that design, the plant solved several problems at once. Spines discourage hungry mouths. They also cast tiny lines of shade across the surface, which lowers heat load at the stem. In some species, they help break up moving air so moisture escapes more slowly. A dense covering can even catch drifting fog or guide droplets toward the base. So what looks like a simple defense is actually a multifunction survival system. The leaves did not vanish without purpose. They were redesigned for a harsher world. That makes the plant feel less like a bundle of needles and more like a feat of evolutionary engineering. Every spine tells the same story in miniature. Shape can change. Old parts can be repurposed. Survival can come from turning one familiar structure into something astonishingly new. Bats pollinate certain cacti under the cover of darkness. When night falls in desert country, the shift is not only in temperature, it is also in traffic. Nectar-feeding bats move through the dark, following scent and pale blossoms that are easier to find after sunset. Some columnar cacti time their flowering to meet these visitors, offering rich nectar and abundant pollen at exactly the hours when wings are passing overhead. The relationship is powerful because bats can travel long distances in a single night. That allows them to connect plants across wide landscapes, carrying pollen from one bloom to another far beyond the reach of many insects. In effect, the desert gains airborne pollinators that can stitch scattered populations together. It is one of the great hidden partnerships of the cactus world. What looks silent and empty after dark is actually alive with exchange. Flowers open. Bats feed. Reproduction happens in the black air above the sand, long before sunrise reveals any trace of the encounter. The saguaro's first arm may take many decades to appear. That familiar branching silhouette feels so natural that many people assume a saguaro begins making arms while still fairly young. In reality, the wait can be astonishingly long. A plant may spend decades as a single column before its first side branch appears, and some never develop arms at all. Rainfall, cold damage, elevation, and local conditions all influence the timing, which means no two lives unfold in exactly the same way. That delay gives the adult form a different kind of grandeur. Those upward curving arms are not casual decorations. They are signs of age, endurance, and years of successful survival in a difficult place. By the time one begins to branch, it has already passed through a long period of vulnerability and slow accumulation. So when people see that classic outline against the sky, they are not just seeing a cactus that looks mature. They are looking at a life that has already endured an extraordinary span of time. Some cacti rely on nurse plants to survive their early years. A young cactus in full open sun can face an almost impossible beginning. The soil heats quickly, moisture disappears fast, and tiny tissues are far less resilient than those of a mature plant. That is why many seedlings begin life under the protection of another plant. A shrub or small tree provides partial shade, cooler ground, and a little shelter from wind, frost, and hungry animals. This partnership is called nurse-plant facilitation, and in some deserts, it can decide who lives long enough to become a giant. The image is beautiful because it complicates the usual story of the desert as pure competition. Here, survival can begin in borrowed shade. A future towering cactus may owe its existence to a mesquite, palo verde, or creosote bush that softened the world during its most fragile years. Only later, once strength and size increase, can the younger plant step fully into the exposed life that defines adulthood. Cactus wood can form a hidden skeleton inside living stems. From the outside, a large cactus can seem almost boneless, as if it is standing upright through water pressure alone. Yet inside many columnar species, there is a framework of woody tissue that gives the plant strength and shape. In saguaros, old cardons, and organ pipe cacti, this interior support forms a lattice of narrow rods that helps the stem remain upright as it grows heavier and taller. When the fleshy outer tissues die away, the skeleton can remain behind like a ghostly cage, revealing the architecture that was hidden all along. It is one of the most striking transformations in desert botany. A living green column turns into something that looks almost hand-built, delicate and structural at once. For many people, that discovery changes the plant entirely. It stops seeming like a simple swollen stem and starts feeling like an engineered tower, complete with an internal framework assembled slowly over years of growth. Barrel cacti can tilt toward the sun over time. In some deserts, large barrel cacti lean so consistently southward that people once called them compass barrels and used them as rough guides. The nickname sounds helpful, yet it is not a reliable navigation tool. The tilt varies too much from plant to plant and place to place. Still, the lean itself is fascinating. It may result from asymmetrical growth, sun exposure, terrain, and the long effects of gravity acting on a heavy rounded body anchored in difficult soil. Over years, the cactus begins to slant until it seems to bow toward the brightest arc of the sky. That gives these plants an oddly expressive presence, as though they have spent decades slowly turning to face the same source of power. A motion so gradual it is invisible in daily life becomes obvious when seen across years. In that sense, the barrel cactus is a reminder that even the most still-looking plants can bear the marks of time and direction. Some cacti produce fruits that people have eaten for centuries. Long before they became trendy in juices, markets, and garden catalogs, cactus fruits were already part of daily life for many communities across the Americas. Prickly pear fruits, often called tunas, offered sweetness and moisture in dry country. Saguaro fruit was gathered at the start of summer and became part of seasonal harvest traditions for indigenous peoples of the Sonoran Desert. These were not rare emergency foods. They were meaningful, anticipated, and woven into cultural life. The fruits themselves can be vivid and inviting, with colors that range from deep red to glowing magenta and interiors packed with seeds. Some are eaten fresh. Some are turned into syrup, jam, or drink. Their importance reveals another side of cacti that people often miss. These plants are not merely defended, forbidding survivors. They are also generous producers. In places where food could be seasonal and uncertain, a fruiting cactus could become both nourishment and a marker of time. Cochineal insects on cacti once produced a dye worth fortunes. Tiny scale insects living on prickly pears became the source of one of the most valuable red dyes in history. When dried and processed, cochineal yielded a vivid crimson that was far stronger and more brilliant than many older red colorants. After the Spanish reached the Americas, this dye entered global trade and became a prized commodity shipped across oceans. It colored textiles, uniforms, paintings, and luxury goods, and for a time it was valuable enough to rival major trade items like silver. The astonishing part is the scale of the transformation. a soft-bodied insect feeding quietly on a cactus pad, helped produce color for kings, cardinals, and merchants an ocean away. This is one of those facts that makes the plant world feel entangled with empire. A cactus in one landscape becomes part of fashion and power in another. Hidden on its surface is an insect whose body shaped the visual language of wealth for centuries. The Christmas cactus is a true cactus from tropical forests. Its arching stems and winter flowers can seem so unlike the desert stereotype that many people assume it belongs to a completely different family. Yet it is very much a cactus, just one shaped by another world. In the cloud forests and coastal mountains of southeastern Brazil, these plants grow in humid conditions where moisture is more available and the light arrives softened through leaves and mist. That background explains their flatter stems, their preference for indirect light, and the spectacular hanging blooms that made them beloved houseplants. Once you know that origin, the plant becomes more than a holiday decoration on a windowsill. It becomes evidence of how flexible the cactus family really is. The same lineage that gave rise to armored desert columns also produced elegant forest species, but flower when the days shorten. It is a lovely botanical twist. The familiar winter bloom at home carries rainforest ancestry inside every segment. Some cactus seeds wait patiently for perfect rain before sprouting. For a seed in desert soil, germinating at the wrong moment can be fatal. A light shower may dampen the surface briefly, yet leave too little moisture for a seedling to survive the days ahead. Many cactus seeds are therefore cautious. They do not treat every hint of water as a promise. Instead, they respond to a more convincing combination of moisture, temperature, and timing before committing to growth. That hesitation can last through long stretches of apparent opportunity. From our perspective, it looks passive, but in evolutionary terms, it is a high-stakes decision. A seed is gambling its one chance to begin. In some years, the safe answer is to remain still. In a better year, after stronger rains and friendlier conditions, the same seed may suddenly awaken and turn a bare patch of ground into a place of tiny green beginnings. Patience here is not delay for its own sake. It is survival built into the earliest stage of life. A giant cactus can hold astonishing amounts of stored water. When rains finally arrive, a large columnar cactus can take in and retain a remarkable volume of moisture, turning its own body into a reserve against the long, dry future. In old saguaros, that total can reach hundreds of gallons when conditions are favorable. The thought is startling because the plant rarely looks bloated or fragile. It still appears steady, sculptural, and composed, even while carrying what amounts to a hidden cistern within living tissue. That storage changes the emotional meaning of the landscape. A giant cactus is not merely standing in the desert. It is carrying part of the desert's brief abundance inside itself, sometimes long after the soil surface has dried and the storm has been forgotten. This helps explain why large individuals matter so much to the ecosystem around them. They are stable presences because they have learned how to capture rare plenty and turn it into long endurance, holding on to vanished rain with extraordinary discipline. Cacti can survive where summer heat would kill most plants. In exposed desert ground, temperatures can become extreme enough to damage proteins, disrupt membranes, and push ordinary vegetation past recovery. Yet many cacti persist in exactly those conditions because their whole design helps them avoid the worst effects. Waxy skin slows dehydration. Shape reduces exposed surface. Internal water buffers temperature change. Special metabolism limits daytime water loss. Dense spines or hairs may soften the impact of sunlight before it hits the stem. None of these tricks alone would be enough. Together they create a plant that can remain functional in heat that would quickly overwhelm less specialized species. This is what makes the summer desert so deceptive. To human senses, it can feel almost hostile to life itself. Yet cacti are still there, carrying on the business of growth, repair, and survival. They do not merely tolerate heat in a vague way. They inhabit a thermal frontier where most plants would simply fail to remain alive. Some species mimic stones so well, they nearly disappear. At first glance, a patch of gravel may seem empty. Then your eyes adjust, and what looked like scattered stones begins to resolve into living plants. Certain small cacti have evolved shapes, colors, and textures that let them blend uncannily into the ground around them. Gray-green surfaces echo weathered rock. Flattened forms keep them low and inconspicuous. Dust settles on them so naturally that they seem to belong to the terrain rather than rise from it. This disguise is not a visual trick for us alone. It can help protect them from animals searching for moisture in harsh places, and it keeps them from standing out under punishing sun. The result is extraordinary. A plant can spend its life in plain sight while remaining almost invisible. There is something deeply fascinating about that strategy. In a world where flowers often compete to be noticed, these cacti chose the opposite path. They survive by mastering the art of almost not being seen at all. Tiny cactus flowers can be every bit as dramatic as giant ones. Size is not the only route to astonishment. Some of the most mesmerizing cactus blooms belong to plants small enough to sit in the palm of a hand. A modest stem no wider than a biscuit can suddenly produce a flower that seems outrageously bright, silky, and precise, as though all the plant's ambition has been concentrated into one impossible burst of color. The contrast is what makes it so compelling. A body that looks restrained, even austere, can generate petals that appear extravagant beyond reason. In miniature species, the flower may also dominate the entire silhouette, making the plant seem transformed overnight from a small, spiny object into a living jewel. The experience can feel strangely intimate. You have to lean in. You notice fine textures, delicate stamens, subtle color shifts, and the startling perfection of a bloom that would be overlooked only because of scale. In that moment, the tiny flower does not feel lesser. It feels intensely concentrated. Certain cacti glow with silky hairs instead of brutal spines. Not every cactus meets the world with obvious menace. Some wear long white hairs or feathery coverings that catch the light so softly they seem almost luminous. The old man cactus is a famous example, its body wrapped in pale strands that can make it look less like a desert warrior and more like something woven from moonlit thread. Yet this softness is not mere decoration. Those hairs help shade the surface and can protect delicate tissues from harsh exposure. They also trap a little still air around the stem, which can moderate conditions in a difficult environment. That combination of beauty and usefulness gives these plants a special charm. They overturn expectations without abandoning the logic of survival. Up close, they can seem almost touchable, though hidden spines often wait beneath the silky veil. That makes them even more intriguing. A cactus can appear tender, radiant, and almost gentle to the eye, while still remaining exquisitely equipped for a hard and demanding life. The organ-pipe cactus grows like a cluster of living flutes. Instead of forming one main trunk with scattered branches, this species sends up many tall stems from near the base, so the whole plant rises as a dense bundle of green columns. Seen from a distance, the upright tubes really do resemble the pipes of a grand instrument, which gives the cactus its unforgettable name. The form is visually striking, but it also changes the feel of the landscape around it. A lone columnar cactus can seem solemn and singular. A mature organ pipe feels communal, almost choral, as if many voices are standing close together in one rooted body. In the hottest parts of its range, especially in northwestern Mexico, that architecture becomes one of the defining shapes of the land. It shows how diverse cactus design can be even within the great columnar forms. One lineage becomes a solitary pillar. Another rises as a clustered vertical chorus. Both are magnificent, but they create very different desert moods. Some cacti branch like chandeliers, others grow as perfect spheres. Few plant families play with geometry quite so boldly. One cactus may rise upward and divide into elegant arms that spread like a candelabrum. Another may remain almost perfectly globular, holding itself in a compact form that seems closer to sculpture than to what most people expect from a plant. Between those extremes lie flattened pads, creeping stems, knotted clusters, hanging ribbons, and shapes that seem to belong in a cabinet of curiosities. This variety matters because it reveals that there is no single cactus design. The family has experimented again and again with solutions to light, heat, water storage, support, and survival. When you start noticing the forms, a cactus collection begins to feel like a gallery of living ideas. Every outline suggests a different answer to the same hard questions. That is part of the enchantment. They do not merely survive dry worlds. They reinvent themselves visually, turning adaptation into one of the great shape-making forces in botany. A cactus flower can attract pollinators with scent, color, and timing. A bloom is not just a beautiful object. It is a signal, carefully tuned to reach the right audience. Bright reds and oranges may catch the eye of hummingbirds by day. White or pale blooms can stand out better in dusk or moonlight. Sweet perfume drifting through warm evening air may guide moths or other night visitors from a distance. Even the hour of opening matters. A flower that unfolds at dawn greets one set of pollinators. A flower that waits for darkness belongs to another shift entirely. All of this means the bloom is not random extravagance. It is communication. The plant is using color, scent, shape, and schedule to announce itself to the creatures most likely to carry its pollen onward. That hidden conversation makes cactus flowers feel more alive and purposeful. What seems like decoration is actually strategy performed with elegance. A blossom becomes an invitation, and the desert around it becomes a stage where timing can matter just as much as beauty. Many cactus spines begin soft, then harden into sharp armor. Fresh growth can be surprisingly vulnerable. At the tip of a stem, where new tissue is forming, the emerging structures are often pale, flexible, and tender, compared with the rigid points they will later become. Over time, they dry, strengthen, and harden into the tough, defensive covering we recognize. That transformation gives a glimpse into the living process behind the finished look. A cactus is not born wearing perfect armor. It builds it gradually, layer by layer, as new growth matures. There is something compelling about seeing that transition because it makes the plant feel less static. The fierce exterior is not fixed. It is under construction. New spines may begin almost innocent in appearance, only to become formidable weeks later. The shift also mirrors the life of the plant more broadly. Soft beginnings must toughen fast in a difficult world. Even at the level of a single spine, the cactus tells the same deeper story of protection earned through development. Some cactus fruits are sweet, vivid, and packed with seeds. Cut one open, and the surprise can be immediate. Inside a rough or spiny outer skin may be flesh-glowing ruby, magenta, orange, or crimson, with a juicy texture and a crowd of tiny seeds ready for the next stage of the journey. The sweetness is no accident. It is a lure. A fruit that tastes appealing has a better chance of being eaten by birds, mammals, or people who then help move those seeds away from the parent plant. In dry landscapes, that partnership can be enormously important. The fruit becomes both reward and vehicle, turning a stationary cactus into something capable of reaching new ground by enlisting hungry travelers. What makes this especially captivating is the contrast. A plant known for defense and restraint suddenly offers something lush, colorful, and full of energy. It reminds you that cacti are not only about enduring hardship, they are also about timing generosity, producing abundance at exactly the moment it can best secure the future. Birds nest safely inside giant cacti above the desert floor. In places where trees may be sparse or exposed, a tall cactus can become one of the best addresses in the landscape. Gila woodpeckers and gilded flickers excavate nest cavities in saguaros, creating protected chambers within the stem. The plant responds by forming tough scar tissue around the cavity, producing a hardened lining, often called a boot. That lining helps keep moisture away from the nesting space and leaves a sturdy chamber that can remain useful long after the original builder departs. The result is remarkable. A cactus becomes a vertical apartment block, with elevated rooms safe from many ground threats and insulated against the worst of the outside conditions. For a bird, that can mean a precious place to raise young in an unforgiving environment. For us, it reveals how a giant plant can become habitat from the inside out. The cactus is no longer only part of the scenery. It becomes architecture, shelter, and family home in the desert sky. The holes woodpeckers make can shelter animals for years. Once the original nesting birds leave, the cavity does not lose its value. In fact, its usefulness may only be beginning. Elf owls, purple martins, flycatchers, and other birds can move into old chambers, taking advantage of a ready-made refuge that cost them nothing to excavate. Small mammals, reptiles, and insects, they also use the space or the protective structure left behind after the cactus dies. In this way, a single hole can become part of a long chain of occupancy, passing from one resident to another across seasons and sometimes across years. That is what makes these cavities so fascinating. They are not one-time events. They are durable pieces of biological real estate. A woodpecker's effort echoes forward, and the cactus continues serving life in ways that extend far beyond the original partnership. It is a beautiful example of how desert ecosystems can serve opportunity. One opening in one plant can ripple outward into a surprising legacy of shelter. Some cacti survive cold nights that plunge below freezing. Deserts are famous for heat, yet many of them become shockingly cold after sunset. In high places and open basins, temperatures can fall below freezing, and certain cacti endure that swing as part of ordinary life. This surprises people because the popular image is a plant built only for blazing sun. In truth, some species are shaped by extremes in both directions. During the day, they may face fierce radiation and drying air. By dawn, they may be crusted with frost. To survive that contrast, their tissues must tolerate cold without losing too much water or suffering fatal damage. There is something almost heroic about that hidden side of their existence. A cactus is not merely a specialist in thirst. In many places, it is also a veteran of icy nights. Once you know that, the desert seems less simple. It becomes a land of hard opposites, and the cactus becomes a master of both. Frost can damage a cactus faster than desert heat. Heat is what people expect to fear in the desert, yet for many species, a sudden frost can be the greater danger. When water inside living tissues freezes, ice crystals can rupture cells and leave soft parts collapsing into rot once temperatures rise again. A plant built to store moisture is especially vulnerable because that stored water becomes part of the risk. The injury may not even look dramatic at first. A healthy stem can seem unchanged overnight, then darken, soften, and fail days later as damaged tissue breaks down. This is one reason gardeners often lose cacti not in midsummer, but in an unexpected cold snap. The threat feels almost unfair. A plant that looks built for hardship can be undone by one night of the wrong kind of weather. That contrast makes cacti more interesting, not less. Their toughness is real, but it is specific. Survival depends on exactly which challenge arrives, and exactly when. Cacti use ribs like accordion folds to expand after rain. On a giant saguaro or barrel cactus, those vertical ridges are more than decoration. They are flexible folds built into the body, allowing the stem to widen when water is plentiful and contract when drought returns. Without that system, a cactus would struggle to change volume safely. With it, the plant can take in a sudden abundance and physically make room for it. The motion is slow enough that we rarely witness it directly, yet over time, the effect is unmistakable. A rain-filled stem becomes fuller and rounder. A thirsty one draws inward, sharpening the pattern of its ribs. That design is beautiful because it solves a practical problem with elegance. The plant does not need to choose between being rigid and being soft. It becomes both structured and flexible at once. In a harsh climate where fortune can shift with a single storm, that kind of built-in adaptability is an extraordinary advantage. A cactus surface can be coated in wax to slow water loss. If you run your eyes across the skin of many cacti, it has a certain dull sheen, almost as though the plant has been polished by the sun. Part of that appearance comes from a waxy outer layer called the cuticle, and it plays a vital role in survival. This coating helps reduce the escape of water from living tissues, which is essential when every drop matters. In a dry wind or intense sun, an unprotected surface would lose moisture much more quickly. The wax acts like a barrier between the plant and a thirsty world. It also contributes to the visual character of many species, giving them that smooth, sealed look that seems almost sculpted rather than grown. What is fascinating is how much power can rest in something so thin. A nearly invisible layer helps a plant hold on through long spells of heat and drought. Sometimes survival depends not on spectacle, but on the finest surface detail. Some cacti wear dense white hairs like built-in sunshades. In bright desert light, a pale covering can make all the difference. Certain species are wrapped in dense white hairs that reflect sunlight before it can overheat the stem beneath. The effect is a little like wearing a light-colored cloak in the hottest hours. Instead of absorbing the full force of the sun, the plant sends some of that energy back into the air. The hairs can also soften rapid temperature changes and protect the surface from harsh exposure. What makes this so captivating is the visual result. The cactus seems almost frosted, ghostly or silvered, as though it belongs to a colder world entirely. Yet that pale coat is part of its desert strategy. Beauty and function meet so closely that the plant feels designed by both necessity and imagination. It is one more way cacti overturn expectation. A species can look soft, bright, even snow-touched, while living under some of the fiercest sunlight on Earth. Cactus seedlings are far more vulnerable than adult plants. A towering cactus can seem almost indestructible, but its earliest stage is another story entirely. A seedling is tiny, tender, and exposed to dangers that a mature plant barely notices. A few days of intense heat can scorch it. A hungry rodent may nip it off in an instant. Even a heavy raindrop hitting bare soil can matter when your whole body is scarcely larger than a bead. That fragile beginning makes every old cactus more impressive. Before it became a monument of the desert, it first had to survive life as something almost too small to see. Most never do. The journey from seed to established plant is a brutal narrowing of chances, with loss at every step. That is why a mature cactus feels so earned. It is not just older and larger. It is the survivor of a perilous childhood. Every adult shape in the landscape began as a gamble that almost failed. The smallest cacti can fit easily in a teacup. Not every member of this family reaches for grandeur. Some remain so small that an entire plant could sit comfortably in your palm or disappear into a teacup with room to spare. Bosfeldia is among the most astonishing examples, reduced to tiny, rounded bodies that seem to challenge the very idea of what a cactus can be. Their scale changes the emotional experience completely. Instead of awe through size, they create wonder through minuteness. You have to slow down, lean closer, and let your attention adjust. A whole universe of structure, survival, and beauty is compressed into something that could be overlooked beside a pebble. That smallness is not failure or immaturity. It is a complete life strategy. In severe habitats, being tiny can mean needing fewer resources and presenting less surface to danger. These plants remind us that the cactus family did not become remarkable by growing large alone. It also learned how to become astonishingly small. The largest cactus fruits can feed wildlife across harsh landscapes. When a big columnar cactus fruits heavily, the result can be a seasonal feast in a place where dependable food is never guaranteed. Large, fleshy fruits offer sugar, moisture, and seeds, and animals arrive quickly when that bounty appears. Birds tear into the pulp. Mammals forage beneath the plant for fallen pieces. Insects join the crowd. For a brief window, what looked like a severe and quiet landscape becomes animated by feeding. This matters because the desert often runs on pulses rather than constant abundance. A fruiting season can support movement, breeding, and survival for many species at once. The cactus becomes more than a plant. It becomes a timed release of nourishment spread across a hard environment. That transformation is one of the great wonders of dryland ecology. Scarcity does not disappear, but it is interrupted by moments of richness. And often those moments are held aloft by a cactus ripening under the sun. Cacti and euphorbias look alike, but evolved worlds apart. At first glance, the resemblance can be uncanny. Both groups can form spiny columns, rounded stems, and leafless shapes built for storing water. Many people assume they must be close relatives. In fact, they come from very different branches of the plant world. True cacti evolved in the Americas, while many succulent euphorbias arose in Africa and elsewhere in the Old World. Their similar appearance is a classic case of convergent evolution, where unrelated organisms arrive at comparable solutions because they face similar pressures. Dry environments rewarded water storage, reduced leaves, and defensive structures. So two lineages found their way toward a similar look without sharing a recent common origin. That makes the resemblance even more fascinating. Nature repeated an idea independently on opposite sides of the planet. To the eye, the plants may seem like cousins. To evolution, they are examples of how powerful the same environmental demands can be when shaping life into familiar forms. Some cacti have no visible spines, but still belong unmistakably. A person expecting every cactus to be armed with obvious needles might walk past a spineless species and never realize what it is. Yet the family includes plants whose spines are reduced, absent, or so subtle that the classic threatening silhouette disappears. The Christmas cactus is one familiar example, with flattened segments and showy blooms that hardly resemble the stereotype. Even in desert forms, some species look smoother and less severe than people expect. What marks them as cacti is not only the presence of spines. It is deeper structural traits, especially the areolas, those small, specialized growth points from which spines, flowers, or new stems emerge. Once you learn to look for that signature, the family starts revealing itself in quieter ways. This is part of the charm of cacti. They are broader than their reputation. Beneath the popular image of thorns and danger lies a lineage far more varied, surprising, and visually inventive than most people imagine. The peyote cactus grows slowly, low, and almost perfectly round. In the harsh limestone deserts of northern Mexico and parts of Texas, this small, spineless cactus lives close to the ground, where its muted color and rounded shape help it blend into the land. It does not impress by height or showy armor. Its power comes from restraint. Year after year, it grows with extraordinary patience, often remaining compact while developing a thick underground root that stores resources below the surface. That hidden structure helps it endure difficult conditions and recover after damage. The shape itself is part of the fascination. It can look almost mathematically calm, like a smooth green button pressed into the earth. There is something remarkable about a cactus that refuses the dramatic silhouette people expect and instead survives through quiet efficiency. In a family famous for towering columns and fierce spines, this plant offers a completely different kind of wonder. It shows how survival can take the form of stillness, modest scale, and near-perfect geometry. One climbing cactus gives the world the dragon fruit. Most people imagine cacti standing upright or crouching close to the ground. Yet the plant that produces dragon fruit behaves more like a climber searching for support. Its long, angular stems scramble upward through trellises, trees, and farm structures, using aerial roots to grip whatever they can reach. That alone makes it feel unusual, but the surprise deepens when the fruit appears. Bright pink or yellow skin, green scales, and white or crimson flesh make it look almost fantastical, as though it belongs in myth rather than agriculture. And yet this striking fruit comes from a true cactus, one shaped not by open desert alone, but by warmer tropical and subtropical environments. The whole story expands the imagination. A cactus can climb. It can thrive in orchards. It can yield fruit sold around the world. Suddenly, the family feels much larger than the stereotype. One of its members moved from thorny survival icon to global table fruit without losing its botanical identity. Dragon fruit flowers are huge, fragrant, and dramatically short-lived. Before the fruit ever forms, the plant produces one of the great spectacles in the cactus world. Buds lengthen along the climbing stems, then open into enormous white blooms that can appear almost unreal in the dark. They release a rich perfume and often reach their full splendor at night, then begin fading by the following day. The brevity is part of the magic. Growers and gardeners know that when the flowers are about to open, there is a narrow window to witness something extraordinary. A whole plant can seem transformed in a single evening, from angular green stems into a display of luminous trumpets suspended in the warm air. That short life also gives the bloom urgency. It is not there to linger for admiration. It is there to attract the right visitors, receive pollen, and set the stage for the fruit to come. Beauty, in this case, arrives suddenly, performs brilliantly, and then slips away almost at once. Some cactus flowers are pollinated by hummingbirds in daylight. When morning light reaches the desert or mountain slope, certain blossoms are already sending signals meant for fast wings and sharp eyes. Hummingbird-pollinated cactus flowers are often vivid, especially in shades of red, orange, or hot pink, colors that stand out strongly to birds while offering a visual beacon above dry ground. These blooms may hold generous nectar, and their shape often suits a hovering visitor that can dip its bill deep inside while brushing against pollen. The whole interaction feels quick and electric. A hummingbird arrives, hovers with astonishing control, feeds for a moment, and darts away, carrying the flower's future on its face or feathers. This partnership gives the cactus world a burst of daytime energy that contrasts beautifully with the slower image people often carry of desert plants. Suddenly there is speed, color, and aerial precision. A still-rooted plant has built a relationship with one of the swiftest creatures in the landscape, and both benefit from the meeting. Others depend on moths that find booms by moonlight. Not every cactus seeks attention in the glare of day. Some reserve their invitation for the hours when the air cools and pale flowers begin glowing softly against the dark. Moth-pollinated blooms often lean toward white or cream, shades that are easier to detect in dim light, and they may release a strong, sweet scent that carries across the night. The flower is not simply visible. It is discoverable through fragrance as well as form. A moth, following that invisible trail, can arrive and probe the bloom with a long tongue, taking nectar while transferring pollen in the process. There is something beautifully secret about this arrangement. While most people sleep, a hidden exchange unfolds among petals, wings, and starlit air. The cactus is still communicating, still reproducing, still participating in a lively ecological network, but it is doing so on the night shift. That makes the desert feel fuller, stranger, and more active than daylight alone ever suggests. A cactus spine cluster can be more complex than it looks. At a glance, a cactus may seem to wear simple bundles of needles arranged in neat, repeating points. Look closer, and those clusters reveal a surprising level of organization. Many species produce different kinds of spines from the same point. There may be longer central spines projecting outward, shorter radial spines spreading around them, and sometimes fine bristles or modified structures mixed into the group. The number, angle, color, and thickness can help distinguish one species from another, which means those clusters are not random decorations. They are part of the plant's identity. In some cacti, they curve gracefully. In others, they hook, twist, flatten, or form starbursts so precise they look almost designed by geometry. This complexity turns a surface detail into a source of fascination. What seemed like repetition becomes pattern with variation. Each cluster is a small arrangement carrying information about defense, ancestry, appearance, and adaptation, all compressed into a point scarcely larger than a fingertip. Each cactus areole is a tiny factory for growth. One of the defining features of the cactus family is the areole, a small, specialized pad on the surface from which important structures arise. Without it, a plant may be succulent and spiny, but it is not a true cactus. That alone makes the areole fascinating, yet its role is even more remarkable. It is a concentrated growth center, a point where the plant organizes future possibilities. From something so small can come spines, flowers, branches, pads, wool, or new clusters of tissue. In that sense, an areole is less like a mark on the skin and more like a workshop built into the body wall. Once you begin noticing them, cacti start to look different. The surface is no longer smooth or passive. It is studded with tiny sites of potential, each one capable of shaping what the plant becomes next. A whole forest of possibilities is embedded in these small, repeated structures. New stems, flowers, and spines all emerge from areoles. That single fact gives the cactus body an elegant kind of unity. The same specialized point can produce defensive structures, future growth, and reproductive display, depending on the species and the moment. A flower does not burst from anywhere at random. A new branch does not appear without order. Everything is tied back to these repeated little centers on the plant's surface. This helps explain why cacti look so distinctive. Their architecture is built from a system of carefully placed launch points, each capable of developing into something very different. In one season, an areo may remain quiet. In another, it may produce a burst of spines. Under the right conditions, it may send out a bud that becomes a flower and later a fruit. The body is patterned, but it is not monotonous. It is full of dormant opportunities waiting for time, energy, and whether to align. Growth in cacti is organized with remarkable discipline. Some cacti reproduce by dropping pieces that root where they land. Seeds are not the only way a cactus can spread. In some species, a broken segment that falls to the ground can survive, root, and become a new individual. This is a powerful shortcut. The fragment already contains stored water and living tissue, so it begins life with advantages a tiny seedling does not have. Storms, animals, or simple age can knock pieces loose, and what might seem like damage becomes an opportunity for multiplication. In certain prickly pears and callas, this strategy can be especially effective, helping colonies expand across suitable ground without waiting for pollination or seed establishment. There is something bold about that approach. The plant does not depend on one path into the future. It keeps another ready in the form of detachable living parts. A cactus can break and still continue. In some cases, it can break precisely because continuation is built into the fragment itself. Loss and reproduction become strangely intertwined. A fallen cactus pad can become a whole new plant. Imagine a segment lying on bare ground after wind, animal contact, or accidental breakage. It looks detached, almost finished. Then conditions favor it. The cup surface dries and seals. Roots begin to emerge from the underside. Soon, that abandoned piece is drawing water from the soil and establishing itself as an independent plant. It is one of the most astonishing examples of resilience in the cactus world because it feels so improbable. A part becomes a whole. In prickly pears, this ability helps explain how quickly they can spread when circumstances suit them. The pad is not merely a leaf-like unit. It is a self-contained packet of potential, already equipped with photosynthetic tissue, stored resources, and the capacity to start again. That changes the way you look at breakage. What seems like the end of one form may be the beginning of another. In the life of a cactus, separation can be less like death and more like departure. Certain cacti grow in coastal fog, not desert rain. Along parts of the Pacific coast of South America, there are places where rain is scarce, yet moisture still arrives in another form. Cold ocean currents help generate fog that drifts inland and wraps the hills in a dim, wet veil. Some cacti have adapted to that strange arrangement, living where the sky may offer mist more readily than proper rainfall. The setting feels almost dreamlike. It is dry, yet not empty of moisture. The plants stand in landscapes shaped by absence and arrival at the same time, drawing their chances from air that beads and settles rather than storms that pour. This makes the cactus story richer than the usual image of rare thunderclouds over open desert. Water can come softly, almost invisibly, and life can still organize itself around that gift. A cactus in fog country shows how flexible survival can be. It does not always wait for rain. Sometimes it learns to live by breathing the coast. Some of the strangest cacti come from the Andes. In the Andes, altitude, isolation, and rugged terrain have encouraged forms that can seem almost unbelievable. There are species with contorted growth, odd tubercles, dramatic wool, and shapes so unusual they look more imagined than natural. Mountain slopes and rocky valleys have acted like separate worlds, giving populations room to diverge and become distinctive in ways that surprise even people who think they already know cacti well. Some cling to cliffs. Some huddle low against wind and cold. Others produce bodies that appear knotted, twisted or densely armored, as though the mountain sculpted them directly. What makes these plants so fascinating is not only their appearance, but the sense of place inside them. They feel born of elevation and stone. A cactus from the Andes often carries the mood of that landscape in its very shape. The family becomes wilder there, less familiar, and far more inventive than the desert stereotype prepares you to expect. High mountain cacti can face fierce sun and bitter cold. At altitude, the world becomes more extreme in ways that do not always seem to fit together. Sunlight grows more intense because the air is thinner, yet temperatures can plunge with astonishing speed once the light fades. A high mountain cactus must deal with both. It may sit under brilliant radiation by day, then face freezing winds and bitter night cold before morning returns. That combination gives these plants a special kind of drama. They are not simply inhabitants of dry ground. They are survivors in an environment that demands toughness from every angle at once. Often they stay compact, hug the earth, or grow in clustered forms that reduce exposure and help conserve warmth. Their presence changes the way you imagine mountains. We tend to think of alpine life in terms of grasses, flowers, and hardy shrubs, not cacti. Yet there they are, bringing their own version of endurance into thin air, exposed rock, and some of the sharpest weather on Earth. A cactus can be attacked by fungi, insects, and rot. Their reputation for toughness can make them seem almost untouchable, but cacti are not immune to trouble. Beneath the spines and waxy surfaces lies living tissue that can be invaded, chewed, pierced, or infected. Fungi can spread through damaged flesh. Insects can feed on sap or burrow into weakened areas. Rot can begin from injury, cold damage, or poor conditions, then turn a firm stem into something soft and collapsing. This vulnerability is part of what makes them feel more alive and less like botanical machines. They are resilient, but they are also subject to illness, opportunists, and bad luck. A cactus does not simply stand above the ordinary risks of biology. It participates in them. Sometimes the danger comes from drought or heat. Sometimes it comes from small organisms quietly exploiting an opening. That hidden struggle adds another layer to the story. Even the most formidable cactus is still part of a world where survival must be defended on many fronts. Too much water can kill a cactus more quickly than drought. This sounds backwards until you remember what these plants are built for. Their tissues are designed to store water, not to sit in constantly wet soil with air shut out around the roots. When that happens, the underground parts can suffocate and decay, and once rot begins, it may spread upward into the stem. A cactus can therefore die not from thirst, but from abundance delivered in the wrong form and for too long. That reversal is one of the most revealing things about the family. Survival is not about water in the abstract. It is about balance, timing, drainage, and the pace at which moisture enters and leaves the system. A storm followed by drying is one thing. Permanent wetness is another entirely. To many people, kia means giving more. Cacti teach a different lesson. In the wrong conditions, kindness can become harm, and restraint can be the truer path to keeping a desert plant alive. Some cacti bloom only when they reach surprising age. A cactus may spend years, even decades, building strength before it produces its first flowers. During that time, it can look complete to us, already shaped and healthy, yet from the plant's perspective, an important chapter has not begun. It is still gathering the size, stored resources, and maturity needed for reproduction. When flowering finally starts, it can feel like a threshold has been crossed. The plant is no longer only surviving. It is ready to risk energy on display, pollination, and fruit. That long wait gives the bloom a different emotional weight. It is not a casual yearly event in every life. Sometimes it is the reward for astonishing patience. A person may grow a cactus for many seasons before ever seeing that first bud appear. When it does, the moment can feel almost personal, as though the plant has decided at last to reveal what it was preparing for all along. Time becomes part of the beauty. Cactus flowers often outshine the plant that carries them. There is a delightful imbalance in many cacti. The body may be stern, compact, heavily armed, or visually modest. Then suddenly a bloom appears that seems far more extravagant than its host. Bright petals, glossy textures, complex centers, and bold colors can draw all attention away from the stem itself. It is almost as though the plant has been saving its greatest theatrical flourish for one precise moment. That contrast is one of the family's deepest pleasures. You begin with something disciplined and adapted, built for scarcity and defense, then discover that it also possesses an astonishing capacity for splendor. The flower can feel like a secret life breaking through the armor. It reminds us that survival and beauty are not opposites. In cacti, they often live side by side, with the plainness of the body making the bloom seem even more remarkable when it arrives. A modest plant becomes unforgettable the instant it decides to flower. Their fruits can feed foxes, tortoises, birds, and people. When cactus fruits ripen, the audience can be remarkably diverse. Birds may peck at exposed pulp. Tortoises can chew fallen pieces on the ground. Foxes and other mammals may take advantage of the sugars and moisture hidden inside. People too have gathered, eaten, dried, and prepared cactus fruits across many regions for generations. That wide appeal reveals something important about these plants. They do not simply endure in isolation. They enter food webs and human traditions in meaningful ways. A fruiting cactus becomes a point of contact between species that might otherwise seem far apart. Reptiles, mammals, birds, and humans all meet at the same offering, each taking energy from a plant that had to survive harsh conditions before it could produce anything at all. In that sense, the fruit is more than nourishment. It is connection made edible. A rooted plant turns sunlight and scarcity into something shared across very different lives. Cacti help deserts hold life together during the hardest seasons. When water is scarce and food is patchy, deserts do not remain alive through abundance everywhere. They persist because certain organisms provide stability when conditions are hardest. Cacti are among those anchors. They offer nectar, fruit, shade, shelter, and structure at moments when other resources may be limited. Their long lives and durable bodies make them dependable features in landscapes defined by uncertainty. For insects, birds, mammals, and reptiles, that can matter enormously. A cactus may become a feeding stop, a refuge from exposure, or part of a breeding cycle timed to flowering and fruiting. This is why they deserve to be seen as more than symbols of survival. They are contributors to the survival of others. In ecological terms, they help keep the fabric from tearing. During lean periods, their presence can hold local networks together long enough for better conditions to return. The desert is harsher without them, and less connected too. Some species form dense thickets that become natural refuges. In places where certain prickly pears, colors, or shrubby cacti grow thickly together, the result can be a near-impenetrable mass of spines and stems. To a large animal or person, that tangle may seem inconvenient or forbidding. To smaller creatures, it can be a fortress. Birds may nest within the protection of the thicket. Rodents can move through covered spaces that reduce exposure to predators. Young animals may find concealment there during vulnerable stages of life. The cactus stern becomes less like a cluster of plants and more like a defensive landscape built from living tissue. This is a different kind of cactus power from the solitary giant or showy flower. It is communal protection. Many stems together create what one stem alone could not. In difficult country, that can make the difference between exposure and safety. A dense cactus thicket is not just a patch of vegetation. It is architecture for refuge, assembled thorn by thorn over time. Kala segments cling so easily, they hitchhike on animals. Once a loose segment catches onto fur, feathers, or skin, the journey may already have begun. The plant does not need to walk, roll far, or rely only on seeds. It can send a living piece of itself out into the landscape on the back of an unwilling traveler. This makes every passing animal a possible transport service. A coyote brushing through a stand, a rabbit darting between stems, or a bird landing awkwardly near the plant may all become part of the cactus's dispersal strategy. The segment rides along until it is shaken loose somewhere new, and if conditions suit it, rooting may follow. There is something almost mischievous about the elegance of that method. A cactus turns defense into mobility. What begins as pain or inconvenience for another creature becomes opportunity for the plant. In a dry land where chances to establish are precious, even an accidental encounter can become a ticket to the next patch of ground. Some cactus spines are barbed like tiny fishhooks. A smooth spine can prick and release. A barbed one is another matter entirely. Under magnification, some cactus spines reveal backward-facing hooks that catch in skin, fur, or fabric and resist easy removal. That tiny structural difference makes the experience of contact dramatically more memorable. Once embedded, the spine grips rather than slides, which can discourage herbivores and increase the odds that a broken piece stays attached long enough to be carried away. The design feels almost unnervingly precise. Nature did not stop at sharpness. It refined the weapon into something more efficient. That is one reason certain callas and other armed species have such formidable reputations. Their defenses are not only pointed, they are mechanically clever. A plant rooted in place has found a way to make contact matter. What looks simple at a glance becomes sophisticated on closer inspection. Even the smallest hook tells a story of selective pressure, sharpening form into something difficult to ignore. Others are so fine they are almost invisible. Not all cactus defenses announce themselves with bold white needles or long, fierce thorns. Some are so slender and pale that they vanish against the surface until your skin discovers them first. That invisibility creates a different kind of astonishment. You can look directly at a plant and still miss the hazard waiting there. The danger is not dramatic from a distance. It is hidden in delicacy. Fine spines can cover a stem like a mist, creating a defense that is subtle to the eye but surprisingly effective in practice. They can lodge in skin, irritate for hours, and resist easy removal precisely because they are hard to see clearly. There is something almost eerie about that. A cactus can defend itself not by looking more obvious, but by becoming visually deceptive. It turns smallness into a tactical advantage. The lesson is memorable. In the cactus world, what appears soft, pale, or harmless may be carrying an entire invisible arsenal. Droshids from prickly pears can be smaller than eyelashes. These tiny bristles are among the most deceptive features in the cactus world. They may look like harmless fuzz around the areoles of a prickly pear, yet each one is a minute spine capable of detaching and embedding itself in skin with remarkable ease. Because they are so small, they can be far more frustrating than the larger spines people expect. You may brush a pad lightly and feel very little at first, then discover later that dozens of nearly invisible bristles are irritating your fingers or clothing. Their scale is part of their power. A defense does not need to be large to be effective. In fact, the minuteness makes it harder to detect, harder to avoid, and often harder to remove. That gives prickly pears a fascinating dual nature. They can produce edible pads and celebrated fruits, yet hide one of the family's most annoying defenses in plain sight. Soft-looking surfaces become lessons in careful attention. A cactus can heal wounds by sealing damaged tissue quickly. When part of a stem is cut, broken, or scraped, the plant cannot afford to remain open for long. An exposed wound means water loss, infection risk, and weakness in a world where recovery may already be difficult. Many cacti respond by drying and sealing the damaged surface, forming a tough protective layer over time. This does not erase the injury, but it can contain the danger and allow the rest of the plant to continue. The transformation is striking. A fresh wound that looks raw and vulnerable gradually becomes a hardened scar, a visible record of trouble survived. In species that propagate from broken parts, that sealing process is especially important because it helps a detached segment stabilize before rooting. The plant's body is therefore built not only for endurance, but for repair. That adds another layer to their fascination. A cactus is not just a container of stored water and spines. It is a resilient organism capable of patching itself against the odds. Some cactus stems turn purple under stress from sun or cold. A healthy green cactus may suddenly flush with tones of violet, plum, or reddish bronze when conditions become intense. To someone unfamiliar with the change, it can look alarming or even beautiful in an unexpected way. Often this color shift is linked to protective pigments called anthocyanins, which can increase when the plant faces strong light, cold temperatures, or other stress. The pigments may help shield tissues from damage, while the cactus manages the challenge. That means the changing color is not merely cosmetic. It is part of the plant's response to a difficult moment. There is something deeply compelling about seeing stress written so visibly onto a living surface. The cactus seems to announce that the environment has pressed hard upon it. Yet the color can also be a sign of survival in progress rather than defeat. The stem is not simply suffering. It is adapting, defending, and revealing in pigment what the weather has demanded. Many cacti grow incredibly slowly, yet endure for centuries. Time moves differently for these plants. In the human world, speed often feels like success. In the cactus world, patience can be the winning strategy. Some species add mass so gradually that a plant may look nearly unchanged across many seasons, especially to a casual observer. Yet while growth is slow, life continues with extraordinary persistence. Tissue is maintained. Damage is weathered. Roots keep working. Rare good years are absorbed into the body and carried forward. The result is a kind of biological pacing that can seem almost defiant. A cactus does not hurry to impress. It survives by refusing to spend more than the landscape can support. This helps explain how such slow growers can remain alive for astonishing lengths of time. They are careful with opportunity. They conserve during hardship. They accept a tempo that would seem impossible to us, then turn that restraint into longevity. In them, slowness is not weakness. It is a remarkably successful way of staying. Ancient cactus lineages survived dramatic shifts in climate and landscape. The world that shaped early cacti was not fixed. Over millions of years, climates cooled and warmed, mountains rose, dry lands expanded, and habitats shifted across broad regions of the Americas. Through all of that instability, cactus lineages persisted and diversified, finding ways to occupy new ecological spaces as old ones changed. That long survival gives the family a deep historical dimension. A cactus seen today is not only adapted to the present moment, It is part of a story that reaches back through vast changes in weather, geography, and environment. Some ancestral forms likely faced worlds that would be almost unrecognizable now, yet the lineage endured and kept experimenting with structure, metabolism, and habitat. This makes the modern diversity of cacti feel even more impressive. It is the product of endurance across deep time. Every species alive today carries within it the legacy of countless environmental tests that could have ended the story, but somehow did not. Some species exist only on one hillside or valley. There are cacti so restricted in range that an entire species may live within a single small patch of earth. One slope, one valley system, one outcrop of particular rock, and nowhere else. That kind of rarity changes the emotional scale of the plant. It is no longer merely one member of a broad family. It becomes a local secret, bound to a very specific place and dependent on the exact conditions found there. Soil chemistry, rainfall pattern, elevation, exposure, and geological history may all combine to create a home that cannot easily be replaced. The wonder of that is matched by its fragility. A species with such a tiny range can be vulnerable to collecting, development, grazing pressure, or climate shifts in ways that more widespread plants are not. Yet there is also something extraordinary about life becoming so finely tuned to one corner of the world. A whole evolutionary story can be anchored to one hillside. Rare cacti can be threatened by collectors as well as drought. A cactus can survive heat, hunger, rocky soil, and years of unreliable rain, then be lost because a human being decided it was too beautiful to leave in place. That is one of the saddest truths in the story of rare species. Some grow so slowly and live in such limited ranges that removing even a few individuals can damage an entire wild population. Collectors may prize unusual shapes, rare flowers, or difficult-to-find species, and that desire can turn a hillside into a target. The tragedy is that a plant which took decades to establish can be gone in minutes. Drought is still a danger, of course, but human fascination can become a second pressure layered on top of natural hardship. That makes rarity feel double-edged. What makes a cactus wondrous also makes it vulnerable to attention. In some cases, being admired too intensely becomes part of the threat, and survival depends on being left exactly where it belongs. Conservationists sometimes guard wild cacti like buried treasure. In some parts of the world, the location of especially rare species is treated almost like a secret map. Botanists, land managers, and conservation groups may avoid sharing exact sites, monitor vulnerable populations, or work quietly with local communities to reduce poaching and damage. That level of protection sounds dramatic, yet it makes sense when a plant may exist in only one small place and command intense interest from illegal collectors. The image is unforgettable. Somewhere on a dry slope or rocky ledge, a cactus is being watched over with the same care people might give to precious artifacts. Except this treasure is alive. It grows slowly, flowers on its own timetable, and belongs to the land that shaped it. That secrecy reveals how valuable wild plants can be, not as ornaments to possess, but as irreplaceable pieces of living history. In a very real sense, some cacti are botanical treasure, and people now stand guard to keep them where they are. A cactus flower may be larger than the plant itself. Few botanical surprises are more delightful than seeing a tiny cactus produce a bloom that seems almost absurdly oversized. The plant may be small enough to hide in your hand, yet when it flowers, the petals spread so broadly that the blossom dwarfs the body beneath. For a moment, the cactus seems to vanish under its own display. This creates a sense of impossible proportion, as though the rules of scale have briefly been suspended. Why would such a small plant make such a large announcement? Because in the natural world, being noticed can matter more than looking balanced to us. A bold bloom can help attract the pollinator the plant needs, even if the effort seems extravagant. That extravagance is part of the charm. The cactus spends so much of its life being compact, guarded, and restrained, then suddenly reveals a capacity for spectacle that feels completely out of proportion to its size. It is one of nature's loveliest surprises. Some cacti smell wonderful, while others smell strangely foul. A cactus flower can lure its visitors not only with color and shape, but with scent, and those scents can range from deliciously sweet to unexpectedly unpleasant. Some blooms release a fragrance rich enough to perfume the evening air, drawing in pollinators from a distance with something almost luxurious. Others lean in a very different direction, producing odors that to human noses seem stale, sour, or even rotten. That contrast is fascinating because it reminds us that a flower is not trying to please us. It is trying to reach the right animal. What seems foul to a person may be irresistible to the insects that matter most to the plant. In that way, smell becomes a clue to relationship. The perfume tells you something about who the cactus hopes will arrive. A beautiful blossom may therefore carry a scent that surprises or unsettles, not because it has failed, but because it is speaking clearly to an audience other than us. Scent can help a cactus target exactly the right pollinator. A flower does not need to send the same message to every creature in the landscape. In fact, it often works better when the message is selective. Scent is one of the most precise ways a cactus can do that. Different pollinators respond to different chemical cues, and a bloom's fragrance can help attract the visitors most likely to carry its pollen efficiently. A sweet nighttime aroma may call to moths. A musky or unusual odor may suit certain beetles or flies. The flower is not simply smelling nice or strange by accident. It is broadcasting a tailored signal into the air. That makes a cactus bloom feel less like a static object and more like an active participant in a living network of perception. Invisible molecules move outward. An animal detects them and changes course. Contact follows. Reproduction becomes possible. The whole exchange begins with scent, and the precision of that invitation can shape whether the plant's brief flowering effort succeeds at all. Cacti can turn brief rainfall into growth with startling speed. For long stretches, a cactus may appear to be doing almost nothing. Then rain arrives, and the response can be surprisingly swift. Roots become active, stored water increases, tissues firm up, and growth resumes with a decisiveness that seems to come from nowhere. New segments may swell. Buds can begin developing. Fresh green tissue appears where there was only stillness before. This quick reaction is one of the great desert miracles. The plant has not been idle. It has been waiting in a state of readiness, poised to seize opportunity the moment conditions improve. In an environment where useful rain may last only a short time, hesitation would be costly. So the cactus is built for response. It turns a passing storm into momentum. That ability changes the way you read the landscape after rain. What looked silent and suspended was actually prepared. All it needed was a brief signal from the sky to begin moving forward again. Desert crusts and shade can decide whether seedlings live or die. The fate of a young cactus is not determined by toughness alone. It is often decided by tiny features of the ground and the light around it. Biological soil crusts made of lichens, mosses, algae, and microbes can affect how water moves, how stable the soil remains, and where a seed comes to rest. A scrap of shade from a stone, shrub, or uneven patch of ground can reduce heat enough to turn an impossible spot into a survivable one. At that scale, the desert becomes a world of fine margins. A few inches to one side may mean death. A little shelter may mean a future giant. This is part of what makes cactus beginnings so extraordinary. The grand columns and globes we admire are often the outcome of tiny environmental luck. A whole life may depend on a patch of crust holding together, all on a little shadow arriving at the hottest hour. Survival begins in miniature. Some cacti spend years preparing for a single, spectacular bloom. There are plants that flower regularly and almost casually, but some cacti treat blooming as a major investment that cannot be rushed. Over many seasons, they gather energy, enlarge their bodies, and wait for the right alignment of age, health, and conditions. Then, sometimes after an astonishing pause, they produce a display so dramatic that it feels like a long-kept promise finally being fulfilled. Certain agavelic spectacles have trained people to expect such moments from succulents, but cacti have their own versions of that delayed grandeur. The power lies in the build-up. A plant can live beside you for years, outwardly quiet, and all the while it is preparing for one unforgettable act. When the bud finally appears, the emotion is different from ordinary garden satisfaction. It feels like witnessing the opening of a chapter that has been slowly written over time. The bloom is beautiful, but so is the patience that made it possible. A mature saguaro can weigh as much as a small truck. Seen from a distance, a saguaro can look almost airy in outline, a ribbed column with arms lifted against the sky. Up close, that impression collapses. An old individual is an immense living mass, packed with water, structural tissue, and decades of accumulated growth. When fully hydrated, the total weight can be astonishing, reaching into a range more often associated with vehicles than with plants. That fact changes the emotional force of the cactus instantly. It is no longer just graceful, it is powerful. It stands there with the stillness of a monument and the mass of something industrial, yet it assembled that weight from sunlight, rainfall, and time. No engines, no quarry, no machinery. Just life, moving slowly and storing the rare gifts of the desert until they became monumental. The next time you see a mature saguaro, it is hard not to feel the hidden gravity of it. What appears serene is also immensely heavy. Saguaros become nesting towers for owls, finches, and woodpeckers. A tall saguaro offers more than height. It offers levels, cavities excavated by woodpeckers, sheltered ledges among the arms, and elevated vantage points all make it attractive to different birds for different reasons. Woodpeckers may create nest chambers. Elf owls can later use old cavities. Finches and other smaller birds may nest on arm crotches or find safety in the spiny architecture around them. The cactus becomes less like a single organism and more like a many-storied tower where different residents occupy different floors. That image is part of its magic. In a landscape with limited tall structure, one plant can become a vertical neighborhood. The birds are not merely visiting it. They are integrating it into their lives. Eggs are laid there. Young are raised there. Songs are launched from its height into the morning air. A saguaro is therefore never only itself. It becomes a rooted high-rise in the desert, full of feathered lives above the ground. The cardon cactus can grow even larger than a saguaro. The saguaro may be the desert celebrity, but the cardon often surpasses it in sheer size. In northwestern Mexico, especially across parts of Baja California and Sonora, old cardons can rise higher and build more massive bodies than their famous northern relative. That fact shifts the sense of scale immediately. If the saguaro feels monumental, the cardon can feel almost excessive, as though the desert decided to push the columnar cactus idea to an even grander extreme. Its stems can be thicker, its crown broader, and its whole presence more overwhelming when seen at close range. Yet many people outside its range have never heard of it. That makes the discovery especially satisfying. Hidden beyond the better-known icon is an even larger giant waiting in the hotter reaches of the cactus world. It reminds us that fame and magnitude are not always the same thing. Sometimes the greatest plant in the landscape is not the one most people know by name. Some cacti twist, crest, or fan into bizarre living sculptures. Most cacti follow orderly growth patterns, repeating familiar shapes with remarkable consistency. Then sometimes, something strange happens. The growing tip mutates, shifts direction, or broadens into an elongated line instead of a point. When that occurs, a plant that might have become an ordinary column or globe can turn into something fantastical. It may twist like braided rope, ripple into folds, or spread into a fan that looks half plant and half carved ornament. These forms feel uncanny because they seem to break the family's usual rules while still remaining unmistakably cactus. In gardens and collections, they often become the stars of the whole display because people cannot quite believe what they are seeing. A cactus stops looking merely adapted and begins looking inventive in a new, almost artistic way. Yet the beauty is not planned in the human sense. It emerges from altered growth, from the plant body improvising a new geometry that can seem almost too strange to be alive. Cresting can turn an ordinary cactus into a green labyrinth. In normal growth, a cactus builds itself outward from a compact growing point. In a crested form, that point stretches into a line, and the plant begins producing tissue along a wavering ridge rather than a simple tip. The result can be astonishing. Ribs fold into one another. Valleys, fans, and convoluted ridges develop until the whole plant resembles coral, brain tissue, or a maze made from living green flesh. What began as a familiar species becomes a completely different visual experience. You can stare at one for minutes and still keep finding new turns and hidden contours. That is why crested cacti feel so captivating. They transform a plant's basic architecture into something almost topographical. The surface becomes a landscape in miniature, full of passes, walls, and curling edges. It is not hard to understand why collectors treasure them. A common species can suddenly become unique, a single plant turned into a one-of-a-kind labyrinth by the strange poetry of altered growth. Cactus collectors have created a world of extraordinary cultivated forms. Once people began growing cacti seriously, they did more than preserve wild beauty in pots. They also noticed oddities, selected appealing traits, and multiplied forms that might have remained rare or unnoticed in nature. Over time, this produced an astonishing cultivated world of monstrous shapes, unusual colors, dense spination, compact growth habits, and hybrids with flowers of striking variety. Walk through a good collection, and you can feel the conversation between human taste and plant possibility. Some forms look severe and ancient. Others seem playful, sculptural, or almost unreal. This does not diminish the wonder of wild cacti. It reveals another chapter in their story. People became fascinated enough to guide their appearance, protect odd mutations, and celebrate variation for its own sake. In that sense, the greenhouse and nursery became places of creative partnership. The cactus family offered extraordinary raw material, and human attention helped turn that material into a parallel world of cultivated marvels, unlike anything found in a single desert. Some spineless cacti were shaped by human selection and care. A truly wild cactus often keeps some form of armor, because defense matters in places full of thirsty animals and hard conditions. Yet under cultivation, human preference can change the rules. When a plant is protected from grazing and handled with care, spines become less necessary from our perspective, and may even be seen as inconvenient. Over generations, people have favored smoother, more approachable forms in certain edible and ornamental cacti, selecting plants that are easier to harvest, propagate, or keep near homes and gardens. The result is a fascinating shift in character. A lineage once shaped primarily by desert pressures begins taking on traits favored by people instead. The plant does not cease to be a cactus, but its appearance starts telling a shared story of cultivation. This is part of what makes domesticated plants so interesting. They carry two histories at once. One comes from evolution in the wild. The other comes from human care, choosing what should remain. Ancient peoples used cacti for food, medicine, tools, and shelter. Long before modern horticulture or desert tourism, human communities across the Americas knew cacti intimately as practical partners in daily life. Pads and fruits were eaten. Fibers and woody parts were turned into useful objects. Spines could serve as needles or points. In some places, the remains of large columnar cacti contributed material for walls, frameworks, or fuel. Medicinal uses also emerged from close observation and tradition, with different groups learning which species could soothe, nourish, or assist in specific circumstances. This long relationship matters because it pulls cacti out of the realm of novelty and puts them back into human reality. These plants were not merely admired at a distance. They were handled, harvested, understood, and woven into survival. The desert was never just a place of hardship. It was also a place of knowledge, where people learned how to live with the resources around them. Cacti stood among the most important of those resources. Cactus fruits once colored drinks, fabrics, and feasts. The vivid reds and purples associated with certain cactus fruits were not confined to the plant alone. People found ways to carry those colors into daily life, tinting beverages, foods, and festive preparations with juices or extracts from ripe harvests. In some regions, the intense tones of prickly pear fruits helped transform seasonal abundance into something both nourishing and celebratory. The visual pleasure mattered. A bright drink or richly colored dish does more than satisfy hunger. It marks occasion, abundance, and attention. This gives cactus fruits a cultural richness beyond taste. They brought the colors of the drylands onto tables, into gatherings, and sometimes into the making of dyes and decorative uses tied to local practice. A hard landscape suddenly produced brilliance that could be shared. That contrast feels important. Out of thorny stems and dry heat came sweetness, moisture, and color vivid enough to shape memory. The fruit did not only feed people, it also changed the look of celebration. The desert after rain can erupt with cactus flowers overnight. A dry landscape can appear restrained for weeks, even months, with little hint of what is being prepared beneath the surface. Then rain falls, temperatures align, and suddenly the change is astonishing. Buds swell, petals open, and cacti that seem silent begin flowering across the terrain in a display that feels almost instantaneous to anyone who was not watching closely. The effect is so dramatic because it overturns expectation. One day the desert looks austere and nearly motionless. The next it is punctuated by bright blooms, each one announcing that the hidden calculations of moisture, temperature, and stored energy have resolved in favor of display. This is one of the great emotional reversals of cactus country. Scarcity does not prevent beauty. It delays it, concentrates it, and then releases it in a burst that can feel miraculous. Rain becomes more than weather. It becomes the signal for a sleeping landscape to answer in flowers. Some cactus blooms change color as they age. A flower need not keep the same message throughout its short life. In some cacti, petals shift in color as the bloom matures, moving from one shade to another over the course of a day or two. What begins as bright yellow may deepen toward orange, or a fresher tone may soften into something duskier as the flower nears the end of its prime. To us, this can seem simply beautiful, a small drama of fading and transformation. Yet the shift may also carry ecological meaning. A changing color can signal to pollinators that the flower's best moment has passed, helping them focus on blooms that still offer fresh rewards. That possibility makes the flower feel even more alive and purposeful. It is not just opening and closing. It is updating its appearance as its role changes. The bloom becomes a moving target in color, and the plant turns time itself into part of the display. Flowers can signal pollinators by closing at exactly the wrong time. From a human perspective, it can seem perverse. You approach a cactus bloom at what feels like the perfect moment, only to find the petals already folding shut. Yet that timing may be exactly right for the plant. A flower opens when its preferred pollinators are active and closes when their shift is over. To us, the window feels inconvenient. To the cactus, it is precise. Closing at the so-called wrong time can protect pollen, reduce waste, and announce that the main opportunity has passed. In this way, absence becomes information. The closed flower tells pollinators and onlookers alike that the schedule matters. The plant is not offering beauty continuously. It is operating by appointment. That can make cactus blooming feel thrillingly elusive. You have to arrive when the relationship is actually happening, not merely when it suits your curiosity. The flower's refusal becomes part of its meaning. Even its closing gesture is still a form of communication. Certain cacti rely on ants to protect tender new growth. On some cacti, the newest growth is the most vulnerable part of the plant. Fresh tissue is softer, richer, and more tempting to insects that can chew, pierce, or weaken it before it fully hardens. In a few cases, ants become part of the defense. They are drawn by nectar or other food rewards produced near buds or growing points, and once present they can act like restless little guards, chasing away or attacking small herbivores that try to feed. It is a subtle alliance, and that is what makes it so fascinating. The cactus is rooted and silent. The ants are mobile, aggressive, and alert. Together they create a partnership that changes the odds at a delicate stage of growth. A plant we think of as self-defended by spines alone may also rely on insect bodyguards. The desert, once again, turns out to be less solitary than it first appears. Even a cactus may benefit from allies. Some cactus seeds survive passage through an animal's gut. A fruit is not only a reward. It is also a delivery system, and some cactus seeds are built to endure the rough journey that follows swallowing. A bird, fox, or other fruit eater takes in the pulp, digests the sweeter parts, and later leaves the seeds elsewhere in a package of nutrients. What sounds harsh is actually a remarkable route into the future. The seed survives darkness, pressure, chemicals, and motion, then emerges farther from the parent plant than it could have traveled on its own. That distance matters. It can reduce competition, open access to new patches of ground, and place the seed where rain and shade may be more favorable. There is something wonderfully indirect about this strategy. The cactus does not fight movement. It recruits appetite. Its future rides through another creature's body, hidden inside sweetness. In a harsh landscape, even digestion can become part of a plant's survival plan, turning consumption into a strange form of assistance. Cacti can anchor loose soils where little else will grow. In dry places with thin, unstable ground, plant life can struggle to gain a foothold. Wind shifts sand. Sudden runoff strips the surface. Slopes crumble, crack, or bake hard between rare wet periods. Under those conditions, a cactus that manages to establish can do more than survive for itself. Its roots help hold the soil in place, reducing movement and giving the ground a little more structure than it had before. Around that anchored patch, other small forms of life may get a better chance. Seeds can lodge. Moisture may linger slightly longer. Tiny spaces of stability begin to appear in what was once more hostile terrain. This is not the lush, obvious kind of ecological influence people notice in forests, yet it matters deeply. A cactus can become one of the first quiet acts of order in a loose and difficult landscape. By holding its ground, it helps the ground hold too. Even a dead cactus can shelter life for years. Death does not always end a cactus's usefulness. When the living tissues dry away, the remaining skeleton, husk, or fallen mass can continue shaping the lives around it. Hollow spaces may shelter insects, spiders, lizards, or small mammals. Woody remains can cast shade over the soil. Cavities persist as hiding places. Even the slow breakdown of old tissue feeds decomposers and returns stored nutrients to the local system. In that way, the plant keeps participating long after growth has stopped. This is one of the most moving truths about desert life. In a place where resources are scarce, nothing valuable is wasted quickly. The cactus remains part of the habitat even in death, offering structure, refuge, and opportunity to other organisms that arrive later. What once stood tall and green becomes something quieter, yet still important. The story does not end with the plant's last living day. It continues through the lives that find use in what is left behind. A cactus garden can hold species from sea fog to cloud forest. Walk through a well-chosen cactus collection, and you are not seeing one habitat repeated again and again. You are seeing a map of astonishing ecological range. One plant may come from a foggy Pacific coast. Another may descend from Brazilian forest branches. Nearby may stand a species shaped by hot Sonoran flats, a high Andean slope, or a limestone scrubland in Mexico. All of them belong to the same family, yet each carries the logic of a different world in its form. That is what makes a cactus garden so absorbing. It is not only a display of shapes. It is a gathering of climates, elevations, and evolutionary experiments brought together in one place. The visitor moves from one plant to the next, and without leaving the path, travels across continents and environments. A collection of cacti is therefore never just decorative. It can be a compressed geography lesson, a living atlas of how varied one botanical family can become. Some cacti look fierce, yet produce unexpectedly delicate blossoms. A stem armored with long spines can seem almost forbidding, as though the plant wants nothing to do with softness or grace. Then flowering begins, and the whole impression shifts. From a body built like a fortress comes a bloom of silk-thin petals, subtle colors, and fragile textures that seem almost too refined to belong there. The contrast is what makes the moment unforgettable. The flower does not cancel the fierceness of the plant. It reveals another side that was hidden inside it all along. Suddenly the spines feel less like the whole story and more like the outer wall around something exquisitely tender. That emotional reversal is one of the quiet pleasures of looking closely at cacti. They remind us that toughness and delicacy are not opposites. Sometimes they live in the same organism, each made more striking by the presence of the other. A severe plant can become unexpectedly graceful in a single day. Others look soft and harmless, but carry painful hidden spines. A pale fuzz, a silky coat, a rounded body, a tidy little shape on a windowsill. Some cacti seem almost inviting, as though they were made to be handled rather than admired from a respectful distance. Then contact happens, and the illusion vanishes instantly. Beneath that innocent appearance may be fine spines, barbed bristles, or concealed points, ready to remind you that softness in a cactus can be a visual trick. This is one of the family's most memorable habits. It plays with expectation. A fierce plant may surprise you with beauty, while a charming one may surprise you with pain. That tension keeps cacti interesting because they resist quick judgment. The eye alone is not always enough. You have to learn to plant more carefully than that. In a sense, these hidden defenses are part of the cactus personality. They teach attentiveness. They tell you that appearances matter, but they do not always tell the whole truth. Cacti reveal how strange, inventive, and resilient plants can become. Spend enough time with them, and the ordinary idea of a plant begins to stretch. Leaves can become spines. Stems can become water tanks, food factories, and structural columns all at once. Flowers may open at midnight, fruits may travel inside animals, and whole bodies may shrink, swell, hide, or fan into bizarre forms. The cactus family does not merely offer interesting species. It challenges assumptions about what plant life is supposed to look like and how it is supposed to behave. That is why cacti feel so endlessly rewarding. They show that evolution can be both practical and astonishing, solving brutal environmental problems with shapes and strategies that seem almost imaginative. A cactus is never just a desert cliché once you know it properly. It becomes evidence that life can innovate without noise, without motion, and without compromise. In silence and sunlight, plants found ways to become some of the strangest masterpieces the living world has produced. The more closely you look, the less ordinary cacti seem. From a distance, it is easy to flatten them into a single idea: spiny, dry, resilient, familiar. But each step closer breaks that simplicity apart. You start noticing the geometry of ribs, the precision of areoles, the color shifts in the skin, the architecture of flowers, the unexpected softness of hairs, the severity of hidden spines, the patience written into old growth, and the clues to entire ecosystems gathered around one plant. A cactus stops being a type and becomes an individual world. That is one reason people fall so deeply for them. They reward attention in a way that never quite runs out. The closer you study them, the more they resist becoming ordinary background objects. Instead, they become intricate, surprising, and filled with stories that most passers-by never suspect. This is true of many natural things, of course, but cacti make the lesson feel especially vivid. They hide their complexity behind simplicity, then reveal it only to the patient eye. Cacti are not just survivors, but some of Earth's greatest botanical marvels. To call them survivors is true, but it is not enough. Survival sounds bare and functional, as though endurance were the whole achievement. Cacti are doing something much richer than merely hanging on. They are solving environmental problems with elegance. They are building towers from scarcity, turning stems into engines of life, offering flowers of startling beauty, partnering with birds, bats, insects, and people, and shaping landscapes in ways that ripple far beyond their roots. They are engineers, alchemists, architects, and timekeepers of the dry world. The more you learn about them, the more that larger truth comes into focus. These plants are not impressive only because they live where other things struggle. They are impressive because of the astonishing forms and relationships they evolved along the way. In every scale, from a teacup species to a giant cardon, they show what plant life can accomplish when pushed by hardship and shaped by time. We have wandered a long way through the world of cacti. We have passed towering giants and tiny hidden species. We have seen flowers that open for a single night, fruits that feed whole webs of life, and stems that store vanished rain as though they were living reservoirs. We have moved through deserts, mountains, forests, sea fog, and stony hillsides, and everywhere the cactus family has revealed another unexpected shape, another strange adaptation, another quiet act of endurance. Perhaps what lingers most is the contrast: fierce spines and delicate blossoms, great age and slow growth, harsh landscapes and sudden color. A plant that can seem so still from afar turns out to be full of motion, timing, partnership and change. Beneath the sun, beneath the moon, and across years almost too long to imagine, these remarkable plants have been building lives of patience, precision, and resilience. And now, as this journey comes to rest, you can let all of that begin to soften. Let the towering forms fade gently into the distance. Let the flowers close. Let the desert air grow cooler and calmer around you. There is nothing more you need to hold on to tonight. Just the feeling of having glimpsed something vast, strange, and beautiful, and of being allowed to drift slowly away from it. If you enjoyed this sleepy journey, do leave a like, subscribe, or share a thought below. And if you happen to still be awake in a few moments, there will be another video waiting for you on the screen. For now, let your breathing slow. Let your thoughts grow lighter. And let the last image be a silent cactus beneath a wide night sky, still, patient, and at peace. Sleep well, and good night.